Well, this is going to make a lot of people upset, especially liberals will be upset by this because they see that, they're going to say that Trump screwed it all up with tariffs. He's ruined the United States of America. And of course, MAGA folks will never criticize Trump no matter what. This might get under their skin. They'll say this guy is gaslighting, and they might be right. So we're going to lay it out here, and you guys decide how you feel about this, but don't shoot the messenger. Here's Gene Seroka, the executive director of the Port of Los Angeles. And I've watched a lot of his interviews, and he does not seem to be a fan of Trump. Okay, just putting that out there. Maybe he is, but he doesn't seem to be, because he's all over CNN blasting the tariffs and how bad this is going to be for the United States of America. And maybe he's right. I'll leave it up to you. So again, take it with a grain of salt. But anyway, he was just interviewed by Bloomberg News last week, I think either Friday or Saturday. And he goes into detail about how America could face a massive supply chain disruption. We're talking empty shelves, COVID-19 level retail shock with nothing on the store shelves. And he says this has already been set into motion. Watch.
Just describe for us, let's take a beat, really frame it for us, how much volume has just dropped off in the last few weeks?
Yeah, about a third of the import volume, which means give or take about 50,000 20-foot equivalent units gone off the arrivals coming in next week.
From next week is when you expect to see this really hit?
That's correct, and that matches up. The announcement's back on April 2nd, then on April 8th, a little bit of a change on everybody, ex-China, Mexico, Canada, and those arrivals are coming at us this weekend.
We'll, of course, dedicate time to your port, but I'm just wondering how you're anticipating this rolls and ripples through the economy from here, how it hits trucking, when this turns up on the shelf. What's the distance, the time from when you see a drop-off in volume and when we, as consumers, see the shortages?
Right. So CEOs are telling me, hit the pause button, right? I'm not going to import anymore at these kind of prices. Let's wait and see. I don't know if it's going to be 2 hours, 2 days, or 2 weeks till I get some clarity. Then hiring off the table for right now. Capital investment, pause. And the retailers are telling me that realistically, with even the 10%, I'm going to have to pass it on to the consumers.
So all right. So he's pointing out here, and a lot of people in the chat room saying, no, this guy is a union hack. He's a fearmonger. He's a leftist union hack. Others are saying in the chat room right now, saying, there's already salt is not on the shelves. So I don't know. You guys tell me what you think about it. But anyway, he's pointing out here that the tariff announcement came back on April 2nd. This caused a cascading effect. There's no stopping this now. He says it's already baked in and can't be avoided because you're having like 3 months of order time. He details how these orders, go back 3 months. Predates that. So there's enormous lag time between these orders. And then now if they're saying we're not ordering anything, there's going to be a huge gap of where we don't have anything on store shelves. So he says 5 to 7 weeks. So guys, let's mark the calendar, okay? So today is what? Today is May 5th.
Yep.
Cinco de Mayo. He did this interview on May 3rd. 6 weeks from now is June 14th. So we'll see if he's correct, okay? We'll check back. We'll mark it on our calendars. And maybe he's right. 6 weeks from now. So he says 5 to 7. So 6 weeks from now, we'll see. Are American store shelves going to be barren? Mm-hmm. We will see. We'll check back. Maybe he's right, or maybe he's full of it.
And I wonder if most of you feel like us, like any a-hole is getting on the news, predicting stuff because we are in an uncharted territory. So it feels like you don't know exactly who to believe. But yeah, it's a good thing to, let's see where we get, right?
Yeah.
Let's mark the calendar.
Let's mark the calendar.
Yeah.
Well, we dodged a bullet this morning, didn't we? The House of Representatives was set to vote on H.R. 867. House Bill H.R. 867. The bill would have made it a felony for Americans with up to 20 years in prison for Americans to support a boycott of Israel. Yes, $1 million in fines and 20 years in prison if you participate in a boycott of Israel. It was introduced by this guy, Representative Mike Lawler, who, as the APEC tracker likes to point out, has received almost, upwards of almost $700,000 from the pro-Israel lobby. Okay, you can draw your own conclusions if you like.
Anti-boycott laws have not held up in court. But again, dozens of states still have them on their books. It is not a federal law. It has failed in court repeatedly. But why, ask yourself, do U.S. lawmakers continue to try to make it illegal for you to boycott one foreign nation?
Because here's the thing. I think these guys can fundraise off of this. They can get more money. Like he's going to probably get more money from AIPAC. He'll probably get more money from fundraising.
Even though over 3/4 of Americans do not support a ban on boycotting anything. They want to be able to boycott whatever they want.
That's America. We can boycott whatever the hell we want.
Yeah. And is it only if I'm public about it, if I say I'm boycotting, or if I just do it privately, like I don't go to Starbucks again and I do that privately and they find out?
Right.
Like, oh,
can you get arrested
Starbucks.
for not going to Starbucks?
Yeah. I'm your private
You
boycotter.
used to go every day. You're not going now.
Dancer
so that we feel like that's a boycott.
Right.
Like,
That's funny.
Do I have a legal obligation to buy a menorah around Hanukkah now? I mean, if I don't, am I boycotting Israel? Like,
Right.
these are questions I want to know.
Great questions.
Yeah.
So this bill has been pulled. So we dodged a bullet. It's been pulled from a vote after severe backlash. I'm surprised it took this much. I mean, my God, really? It was the dumbest thing ever. Charlie Kirk slammed the bill. He said, tomorrow the House will vote on H.R. 867, a bill that will criminalize private boycotts of Israel, fines up to $1 million, prison time for 20 years. Bills like this only create more anti-Semitism and play into growing narratives that Israel is running the U.S. government. In America, you are allowed to hold differing views. You are allowed to disagree and protest. We've allowed far too many people who hate America to move here from abroad, but the right to free speech is the birthright of all Americans. This bill should not pass. Any Republican that votes for this bill would expose themselves. We will be watching very closely. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massey, Steve Bannon all spoke out big time on this bill. Here was MTG this morning on Steve's show. Watch.
Over the weekend, talk about the House. There was this bill, and you're a Bible believing Christian, correct?
100%, from the first page to the last.
And you've been a supporter of Israel. This weekend, talk to me about this bill that some of the biggest supporters of Israel, Gates, Charlie Kirk, Steve Bannon, and parts of the Bannon operation, the War Room operation, and MTG, were adamantly opposed to coming out of the House.
We're defending freedom. This isn't anti-Semitism that we're not pushing that. We don't promote it. We don't want to have anything to do with it. We don't want hate for any people for their identity, race, religion, whatever. Here's the situation. This bill is promoting anti-Semitism in America, Steve, and I'll tell you why. Because when Americans see another country, any country, and their interests constantly being pushed and promoted here in Washington, D.C., before the American people's interest and the things they voted for are being voted on the House floor, that is driving anti-Semitism.
So it's been pulled. So good. We need to be more vocal in situations like this.
Right.
Guys, I want to quickly tell you about today's sponsor before we get back to the news. You know, President Trump just signed an executive order with one big goal in mind, and that's to bring copper mining back to the United States after Obama and Biden, of course, shut it all down and other precious minerals mining here in America. It's been a disaster. Today's sponsor is called Giant Mining, and here's their ticker on your screen. Now, this company owns and operates a copper, silver, gold project in Nevada, right here in the good old US of A. But today they just announced brand new drilling results. And as you can see here's the drilling results right here on your screen. And guess what? Their stock just shot up about 40% on this news of their drilling results. Guys, since the last time I told you about this company, their share price is up about 40%. Just so you understand, Nevada, where Giant Mining's copper project is situated, has constantly ranked among the top mining jurisdictions in the world, which is why I'm bringing this company to your attention. And now that we are in a trade war with China, by all accounts, and other countries, China shutting down the exporting of precious minerals, rare earths to America as a result of Trump's tariff. That was their response, and Trump fired back 145% tariffs. Now is the time to pay attention to American-based mining companies, especially now that the Trump administration has said that domestic copper production is a national security priority for the United States of America. So Giant Mining's balance sheet is now fully funded for its drilling programs in 2025. Giant Mining is well positioned to accelerate its exploration efforts and potentially capitalize on emerging copper market opportunities. So this is great news, in my humble opinion. So guys, do your own homework on Giant Mining. Here's their ticker on your screen. Dive into their latest mining projects in Nevada. And of course, their latest drilling news that they just announced. Again, their share price is up about 40% since the last time I told you about them. Well, another signal scandal just hit the Trump administration. WikiLeaks just confirmed that the Israeli company behind the modified Signal app used by the Trump administration has been hacked. WikiLeaks, citing a report from 404 Media, says Telemessage's back-end panel was accessed using login credentials found in intercepted data. And the hacker exposed archived messages and contact info for U.S. officials. What? Why the hell is the Trump administration using an Israeli modified Signal app to communicate?
Yeah, that's weird.
Why would they be using any foreign government-built app? I don't care if it's Iceland who built the app, or China, or Israel, or Canada. Shouldn't the most sensitive communications in the United States be fully controlled by the United States, end to end? But no, here's the 404 Media report. A hacker has breached and stolen customer data from Telemessage, an obscure Israeli company that sells modified versions of Signal and other messaging apps to the U.S. government to archive messages, 404 Media has learned. The data stolen by the hacker contains the contents of some direct messages and group chats sent by its Signal clone, as well as modified versions of WhatsApp, Telegram, and WeChat. Telemessage was recently the center of a wave of media coverage after Mike Waltz accidentally revealed he used the tool in a cabinet meeting with President Trump. The hack shows that an app gathering messages of the highest-ranking officials in the government. Waltz's chats on the app include recipients that appear to be Rubio, Tulsi Gabbard, J.D. Vance, contain serious vulnerabilities that allowed a hacker to trivially access the archived chats of some people who use the same tool. The hacker has not obtained the messages of cabinet members Waltz and the people he spoke to, but the hack shows that the archived chat logs are not end-to-end encrypted between the modified version of the messaging app and the ultimate archive destination controlled by the Telemessage customer. Again, why are we using an encryption app modified by a foreign government? I'll let you decide.
They should have used direct messages in TikTok. If they were going to do that.
Snapchat?
Right. Okay. Given we're okay now with foreign governments. I mean, the whole bill of goods they sold us about taking TikTok off the app was that it was foreign controlled. But then our most secure government communication, this is fine.
Yeah.
A new study shows that the Antarctic ice sheet has experienced a mass gain period over the last 3 years. So in other words, Antarctica is not melting, as Al Gore would have us believe. Since at least 2021, it has been growing. This is news only to people who believed climate alarmism that said that the world's glaciers would just keep melting until there was none. And that was idiotic. And again, Al Gore did say things like that. The media would have us believe that the Earth does not actually heat and cool in cycles, but there's one Goldilocks way to be, and we need to just push a pause on that, and that any variation is doom. So researchers at Tongji University found that Antarctica has lost 142 gigatons of ice per year since 2011, but 10 years later, starting in 2021, that trend has begun to flip, and it has since 2021 grown by 108 gigatons of ice per year. That is only news to people who believed the media narrative. Historians and real scientists have always known that glaciers shrink and grow. They have always known oceans heat and cool. The U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration knows this too. Here is their own calculation of the Atlantic temperatures called the Atlantic Multi-Decadal Oscillation. It's a series of changes in ocean temperatures that go on 20 to 40 year cycles between about 1 degree Celsius hotter and cooler. They admit that this 1 degree shift has been occurring on their own website for millennia. It is not human caused. It is not brand new. This has always been happening. Here is their calculation of sea temperature for at least the last 65 years, showing that the ocean was in a warming phase from the 20s to the 60s, a cold phase from the 70s to the 90s, changed back to a warming phase in the 90s. They do expect another cool cooling phase of the ocean to begin in the next 5 years. So this ice gain should surprise nobody except the media, which will not, of course, report on this. The media would like you to believe all the ice is going to melt, all the polar bears are going to drown, because the polar bear is like their symbol of pathetic climate change. But the polar bears, last year, my teacher's 6th grade daughter told the class that the polar bears are going extinct. That is also false. In recent counts of 19 subpopulations, 2 increased, 4 decreased, 5 were stable, 8 were not counted, and most of the polar bears that were lost were hunted by humans. So yes, it is human-caused loss of population by hunting them, not because of climate change. The media won't report that either, that the polar bear population is in fact robust right now. So the media and their alarmists should all eat dirt over all of this, but they won't report it.